Uncle Ibrahim would carry me and put me on his lap, and he would touch my chest and he would finger me. On one of those occasions, he put his fingers too deep and it was really painful. So I was struggling. I was begging him to please stop. It's painful, it's painful. My mom couldn't hear me. There was no one else to hear or to come and see or stop him. He continued and he threatened me, keep quiet, don't shout, don't tell anybody, if not I'll deal with you. I was about 5 at the time, now I'm 24.
According to the United Nations Children's Fund, 1 in every 4 girls and in every 10 boys in Nigeria has experienced various forms of sexual violence before attaining the age of 18. This is as a result of the fact that rape has continued to be one of the most prevalent human rights violations in Nigeria. Despite the Nigerian authorities' declaration of a state of emergency on sexual and gender-based violence in 2020, rape continues to prevail at crisis levels, with most survivors denied justice. Most of these rapists also avoid prosecution, and hundreds of cases of rape continue to go unreported due to pervasive corruption, stigma, and victim blaming. This is Hassan. She is 24 years old. She tells Read TV that she was sexually abused by 2 men, a close relative and a family friend, while she was between the ages of 5 to 10. In this interview, Ms. Hassan details how the abuse started with one of her abusers. She identifies him as Ibrahim Bwala, a teacher at Police Primary School, Duse, Jigawa State.
In around 2002, I was about 5 at the time, now I'm 24. An uncle, adopted brother, cousin of my father, was going to Port Harcourt through Kano from Maiduguri. My family and I, we lived in Kano at the time. My 2 sisters, who are older than I am, they were away for school, leaving just my father, my mom, and I. Uncle Ibrahim was a familiar face, so when he would come around, he would be allowed to play with us. He had access to the house like a senior brother would. While traveling, he paused by Kano to wait for his night bus or something like that. And my father stepped out on one occasion and my mom was in the backyard doing some kitchen things. Uncle Ibrahim would carry me and put me on his lap, and he would touch my chest and he would finger me. On one of those occasions, he put his fingers too deep and it was really painful. So I was struggling. I was begging him to please stop. It's painful, it's painful. My mom couldn't hear me. There was no one else to hear or to come and see or stop him. He continued and he threatened me, keep quiet, don't shout, don't tell anybody, if not I'll deal with you. I was very afraid of him because he was not really the friendliest uncle. He would also put his private parts in my mouth and make me suck him. And I'll cry because it was very uncomfortable, but he did not care. Each time he would come, I would be very uncomfortable. The abuse happened on more than 2 or 3 occasions. I can't remember how many times.
She said after some time, she did not see Ibrahim again until 2008 in Maiduguri, where he was taunting her and reminding her of her past.
He came to Maiduguri to visit my sick grandfather, and my father himself and I were in a car. We went to Milk Shop. It's a street where you can buy groceries, and my dad got out of the car. I was at the back and Ibrahim was in front, and he looked at me through the rear mirror and he said, "Shegienna, now thinking at the sorry." I know that means bastard, I know you have boyfriends. Then he continued to say things like, I know you do bad things, I know you're a naughty girl, I remember what you used to do before. And in the back of the car, I was crying. I said, Uncle, please stop saying these things about me. He didn't care about my feelings. Instead, he continued to make fun of me and remind me of all these things. Clearly, he didn't care. He was not apologetic at all.
Fast forward to 2014, Ms. Hassan says Ibrahim sent her a friend request on a social media platform. What he did not see coming was an online confrontation of his past sin. Ibrahim's response, she says, was to tell her to forgive and forget about the incident.
In 2019, one night I had a meltdown, which for me is a normal thing. Sometimes I cannot sleep at night. I'm just up thinking or crying, just thinking about all these things and what has become of me. I wrote a message to him, confronting him and what he had done, and telling him that I'm not comfortable with the relationship that we were faking, as if everything was okay, as if nothing had happened. And I told him that even though now I can't do anything about it, one day I'm going to talk to my family about it and that I have not forgiven him. And this man replied me asking me to forgive him, to forgive and forget, that in fact he has forgiven, that he has forgotten what he had done. That made me feel so terrible. How can you tell me that you have forgotten and I should forget us? Sorry. I'm really sorry. I should forget as well.
To support her claim, she sent a voice recording between her family and the accused, where he acknowledged his wrongdoings.
Are you recalling that it actually happened?
I'm recalling. It actually happened. From my house,
Ms. Hassan also narrated her ordeal with her second abuser, whom she identified as David Bwala. Mr. Bwala is currently a lecturer at the University of Maiduguri and was also her father's friend for over 3 decades.
His happened around 2007-8. At the time I was 9-10. He would come to the house. This time my sisters were away for school and work. My dad worked in Damatru, Yobe State. He would only come back on the weekends. And my mom had suffered a stroke, so she was really sick. She was half paralyzed. And she had some issues with her bladder, so she would have to go and pee a lot. My mom was really sick. This stroke affected her mentally, physically, emotionally, everything. She wasn't in a position to cater to me like a mom would or could, because she just didn't have the ability to anymore. David would come to the house the way relatives would, just to come and check up on us, maybe bring food stuff, just to visit us. And he would bring colorful biros and rubber bands, which I really liked at the time because they were popular. I could go to school and play with my friends, share with my friends. And maybe when my mom goes to the toilet to ease herself, or when he would ask me to come to the car to carry maybe the things that he had brought, he would touch me, he would hold me and he would touch me, he would touch my chest, say, be a good girl, be a good girl. He would finger me, put his hand in my pants, and there was no way anybody could see because it was a closed compound. Security guards were outside, just outside with almajiri and whatnot. My mom could not see. And he would do this so many times, I've lost count, because he used to visit very frequently. And at this point, I knew what was happening, but I just didn't know who to talk to or how to say it, because who would believe me? This man was in our family long before I was born. Would anybody believe me?
She added that she did not see Mr. Bwala again for a while because she had to go to Jos to continue her education until a day her father came to visit her while she was in school.
One time, I can't remember what year, my father came to Jos. He was passing through either to or from Abuja, and he paused in my school to visit. Normally, when my dad comes to school to visit, all of my friends and I will run to the car park excitedly to see him because he will come with foodstuffs, snacks and money to give us. And it was just time to bond with my father. However, this time my dad didn't say he was coming with this man. It was after chapel on Sunday. I ran, then this man came down from the car. It was as if something hit me. I was so surprised. I was so hurt, but I couldn't say. My dad wanted me to, just talk about things, how is school going. I told my friends, let's go. My dad was wondering, normally it's me that will beg him to stay longer. Oh, Baba, don't go. But instead it's me saying that I have to go and do what? What am I doing?
Prior to this, she hadn't told anybody about the incident because of the fear of being stigmatized or not believed. In 2020, she finally opened up to her family about the 2 abusers. Her father was shell-shocked by her revelations.
I still wasn't able to talk about it until 2020 September. I met my father and I opened up to my father about him and one of my father's friends, who was also a very close family friend and a friend of my dad for I think over 3 decades, since the 70s or so. I told my dad. My father broke down. He did not want to believe it. We didn't talk about it again, I think maybe due to shock or something, until 2021, where I opened up to my older sisters. I opened up to my sister Zainab first. When I opened up to my dad, he now made sense of it. He said, okay, now this is what happened. He said, oh, that David, even when my mom passed in 2016, as close as they used to be, David couldn't even make out time to come and visit him. That now these things make sense.
After her earth-shaking revelation, Ms. Hassan tells us her family became her support system as they asked her what she wanted to do to these men.
Fortunately, last year I was able to meet with my sisters and my father all in one place, and they asked what I wanted to do, and I said I want to get justice. I want to take these men to court. How will I do it? I don't have evidence. I don't have witnesses. We set up meetings, 2 separate meetings with each of them. The first was with David, my elder sister Helmi, my father, and an independent party who's a mutual family friend to both David and my family. Her name is Dr. Mrs. Dahi. We went to her house, and David, we were meant to meet on the 5th of March. However, he could not make it. So he called her that night asking, what is it, because she refused to tell him what it was for. She said, it's Hassan wants to meet you. That's my father. He asked, is Hassan here with his children? For him to ask that question, it means he knows. He knew why we were there. Because since whichever year it was, I had not met this man. My sisters had not been in contact with this man. So why would that be the first thing to come to his mind? We went to the house, we had the meeting, about 1 hour, 30 minutes. Over 1 hour, this man was denying it, looking at me in the eye, trying to intimidate me, trying to make a fool of me in front of these people. However, I confronted him. Eventually, he apologized. I said, no, I'm not going to take an apology, because what is this apology if you're saying you did not do it? I was recording because this is all I have. It was going to be all I would have to take to court. Eventually, he admitted and he apologized.
As a way of backing her story, Ms. Hassan is in possession of a voice recording of Mr. Bwala admitting to his crime.
But she didn't know nothing about I apologize. One period that time.
What do you want me to say?
Yes or no, did it happen?
Yes,
It happened.
it happened.
He's saying he touched my chest and my private parts without intention.
And he apologizes.
Okay.
I was saying, it's an in-house meeting.
Correct.
It affects us, all of us.
All of us.
Ms. Hassan says her abuse by these 2 men sent her life into a tailspin. It left her with deep wounds that only justice can heal.
Since these things happened, I'll say I've spent a lot of time being anxious and being detached from social life. I find it very difficult to maintain or even start and maintain good, healthy relationships. I have trust issues when it comes to people, especially men or older men. If I am to meet an older man and maybe he's to put his hand on my shoulder, even in a friendly way, I don't care. I don't register it like that. If I'm to meet a man and he gives me maybe you're looking beautiful or something, it can be in front of a lot of people. I can't just take it as a simple compliment. If I'm to meet people and they make jokes, I get angry easily, I internalize it, I detach easily. I can have friends, I can just decide to detach without giving explanations. I struggle with sleep, I struggle with eating. I find it difficult to find things that I enjoy, hobbies, going to movies, music. I find these things very difficult.
But why is she just speaking out?
Now, that I'm older, I'm less afraid of people's opinions of me. I'm less afraid of what these men can do to me. I was threatened by Ibrahim, but now I don't believe that he can hurt me any more than he did in the past. So now I'll say now I have the confidence to talk about it. I don't think it is right that these men should be roaming around and having access to children. I don't want other children to experience what I did. And for the children who unfortunately had experienced or have experienced or are experiencing this, I want them to be able to talk and to name these people so that there's less shame around the topic, around the survivors, and shame to the people who do this, to the evil people, men and women both, who abuse children and abuse human beings.
We also reached out to the alleged abusers. First, Mr. David Bwala, who in his reaction to the allegations said the case is in court and he expects the case to be handled in a mature manner. He added he will not react to the allegations. Mr. Ibrahim's number was however switched off when we tried contacting him. We left a message for him to which he did not respond. Ms. Hassan's case is not an isolated one. In June 2020, the Nigerian police said they had recorded 717 incidents of rape between January and May of the same year. Also, in April 2020, Nigeria's Minister of Women Affairs, Pauline Talin, said at least 3,600 cases of rape were being recorded during the lockdown, while the National Human Rights Commission received 11,200 reported cases of rape over the whole 2020. Despite the widespread outcry over the rising cases of rape in Nigeria, there seems to be no end to the crisis as suspects continue to roam around the streets freely. Many persons are calling for stiffer penalties for rape. Current federal law provides between 14 years and life imprisonment as punishment for rape. Back to Ms. Hassan. She tells us she is currently working with Men Against Rape Foundation and she also has filed a civil suit against the two men. She hopes to get justice against the two men who she alleges violated her as a young girl. She says justice for her will stop others from doing such.
Because I believe that these men should not continue living comfortably while I'm here suffering. They should not continue working in. Ibrahim works in the police primary school, a primary school in Dutse, with children. He has access to children. Somebody that can meet me years after and still taunt me, remind me of these things, has access to children. That's not right. David is a lecturer in Unimed and people respect him. That should not be. These are people that are respected in the Bura community, in the Christian and Muslim communities. They go around like responsible people, insulting other people for stealing, for doing other things, for doing criminal things and for doing things that are morally wrong. Meanwhile, this is what they are hiding in their closets. I want people to know them for who they are and to get justice and for them not to be able to have access to children.
We will not be silent! We will not be silent! How today will be you tomorrow! How today will be you tomorrow! How today will be